The TV80 is a new high-end transport ventilator from Mindray, which is an electrically operated ventilator with an internal turbine module for electrically operated ventilation. The TV80 has ICU ventilator grade performance, is reliable, easy to use and powerful, and is centered on modular innovation and fusion to facilitate the transport process with the core value proposition of fusion and innovation efficient transport. Our core value proposition is fusion innovation efficient transport. We will introduce the 4 aspects of the machine: experience, basic operation, circuit connection, cleaning and disinfection. Above the screen is the main unit handle, alarm light. The TV80's display has a resolution of 1280x800 and a size of 10.1 inches. The capacitive screen does not need to be calibrated and can be operated flexibly after a 6-layer glove test. Below the screen are the on-off button, power status indicator, outdoor mode, off battery indicator button, lock screen button, alarm sound pause button, and the main control knob, which can be rotated and pressed to select options. The column of the trolley can be optionally installed with a humidifier or infusion information collection system or pump station, and the left side of the column is a power adapter storage box. On the left side of the trolley is the accessory storage unit, which is convenient for storing N1 cables, ventilator connectors and other accessories. A support arm is standard to facilitate patient line management. The left plug-in box of the machine can be equipped with an optional N1 monitor or MPM module, which can be configured with different parameters according to the needs of the hospital with very high scalability, and at the same time it is convenient to transfer the configuration and enhance the transfer efficiency. On the left side there is also a dust screen for cooling air inlet, DC power supply connector and high and low pressure oxygen gas source connector. When connecting the red dot on the power input connector, it's aligned with the red dot next to the main unit's power connector and plugged in, and when you hear a pop sound, it means that the installation is in place. When unplugging the DC power input connector from the main unit, pinch both sides of the red dot on the connector and pull it outward. On the right side of the main unit are the inhalation port, exhalation port and proximal flow sensor port. On the top of the back of the mainframe is the handle, which is used to hang on the handrail during the transfer process. Below the armrest is the external interface area of the ventilator. There is a VGA interface, can be connected to a monitor or projector, which is convenient for training and teaching. The USB interface supports data transmission, the network interface can be connected to the hospital network, and the RS-232 interface can be connected to the medical grade external equipment to realize the communication between the ventilator and external equipment. The lower part is the HEPA filter, equipotential column and expiratory outlet. On the back of the trolley are the trolley handle and the oxygen cylinder placing table. Connecting the breathing circuit to the ventilator. Connecting the proximal flow sensor sampling tube to the ventilator. Connecting the proximal flow sensor to the Y-piece. Connecting extension tubes. After connecting the pipeline, press the power on button to turn on the power. The alarm indicator flashes once, each in order of blue, yellow, red, and the system emits the self-checking tone of the speaker and buzzer once each. The screen enters the standby interface. To ensure that the machine is functioning well, it is recommended that a system self-test to be performed prior to ventilation. Before performing the system self-test, please disconnect the patient from the device and make sure there is an alternate ventilation method to support patient ventilation. The system self-test interface will display the time of the most recent system self-test and total self-test results. Follow the prompts to connect the air source proximal flow sensor and close the breathing line. After completion, select Continue. The system begins to self-test one item at a time. Please follow the prompts to open the breathing circuit during the proximal flow sensor test. The total self-test results after the completion of all self-test items are as follows. Set the patient time, simultaneous type in the standby screen, or click on the patient icon to select patient type, ventilation type, gender and height. Click on More to enter detailed patient information. Parameters from the current mode can be adjusted by clicking on the current mode or by clicking on the parameters below. Adjust the parameters for the current mode and select the More button to display additional ventilation settings. The TV80 ventilation interface supports the display of up to 5 current ventilation modes, and the most frequently used ventilation mode can be selected in the ventilation mode settings. In standby mode, enter the system setup menu. Defaults. You can choose to use the current settings as the defaults or restore the factory defaults. Alarm management. TV80 accompanied by alarm sound. The main interface, click Alarm button or click on the alarm itself. On the current alarm in the open interface, you can also view all the current alarm. You can also set the ventilation alarm limit. Click Auto Alarm Limit, the monitoring value of the last few cycles to update the parameters alarm limit. In addition to this, you can view the recent alarm and set the alarm volume. After setting the machine, ventilation modes and parameters, ventilation can be started. From top to bottom, from left to right are ventilation mode, patient interface prompts, patient icon area, inspiration trigger prompt area, prompt message area and alarm message area, network icon area, USB icon area, system time, power status icon area, oxygen cylinder and oxygen flow rate icons, monitoring parameter area, waveform monitoring area, special function area. This ventilator has an oxygen consumption monitoring function that monitors the rate of oxygen consumption. After clicking on the cylinder icon to enter the current pressure and volume of the cylinder and start ventilation, you can monitor the remaining time of oxygen supply from the cylinder. Optionally, you can turn the oxygen consumption calculation on or off. Click on Menu, System Setup, Settings, Display Time. Optionally turn on or off the display of time remaining on oxygen cylinders. The Screen Waveform Freeze button in the Special Function area helps the doctor to analyze the waveform efficiently and automatically exit the freeze state if no operation is performed on the ventilator for more than 3 minutes. The Screenshot button in the Special Function area can store up to 50 screenshots and the data can be exported via USB flash drive. Further down there is the Mode and Parameter Setting area. Ventilation waveform display, ventilation mode display and monitoring parameter display can be customized by clicking the icons directly on the interface. It is convenient for doctors to make settings according to their own preference. In addition to the waveform interface, by sliding the screen, you can also access the loop diagram, monitoring values, dynamic lang interface, and large font interface. To export data, insert a USB flash drive and click on the top USB flash drive button directly to enter the data transfer interface. Tap the standby button to return to the standby screen. Oxygen therapy ventilation connects a single line and nasal cannula. Set the flow rate and oxygen concentration and click on Confirm to start the treatment. Circuit connection for neonate, pressure assist control, pressure support ventilation, and pressure support ventilation spontaneous timed. Short inspiratory tubes connecting the bacterial filter to the inlet side of the humidifier. Connect the flow sensor sampling tube to the flow sensor port on the ventilator. The breathing circuit is connected to the bacterial filter at one end and plugged into the ventilator's expiratory end port after connecting the flow sensor. Take care to keep the sampling tube of the flow sensor facing upwards. Connect the nasal cannula to the inspiratory line, taking care to keep the expiratory branch connected to the upper end of the anterior nasal cannula. Connect the other end of expiratory manifold to the anterior nasal cannula. Circuit connection for neonate and CPAP. Attach the bacterial filter to the inspiratory and expiratory connections of the ventilator. Connect one end of the short inspiratory manifold to the bacterial filter and the other end to the humidifier inlet. Connect one end of the long inspiratory manifold to the lower end of the prenasal tube and the other end to the humidifier outlet. Connect one end of the pressure sampling tube to the port above the flow sensor on the ventilator and the other end to the pressure sampling port of the expiratory branch. Connect the prenasal tube to the expiratory line, taking care to keep the expiratory line connected to the upper end of the prenasal tube. HEPA filter and dust screen, air inlet dust screen, exhalation valve in a patient line. The HEPA filter is directly replaced, the rest can be sterilized by soaking in sterilized water. The TV80 ventilator is powerful, intelligent and easy to use, and I believe it will play a great role in a subsequent use of the department transfer and patient health. If you have any questions during the use, please contact Mindray customer service.